Welcome to my 2024 Spring Intercession trip. We decided to head out to our farthest place of interest and decided to work our way back from there. We spent the whole day just traveling to our initial destination. On our second day and on our first destination was the Jedediah State Park located at Crescent City, California. This was the last in the long string of Redwood Park that stretches up along Northern California's coast. The park consisted of huge redwood trees as old as 3,500 years. The park was named after the explorer Jedediah Smith, who was the first American to travel by land from the Mississippi River to California in 1826. This park consists of 9,500 redwood trees, including several groves of old-growth trees. One of the groves, totaling 5,000 acres, includes the world's largest coast redwood, which measures 20 feet in diameter and 340 feet tall. We hiked on the Grove of Titans Trail. This was a 1.7 mile out and back. As we walked into the trail, it gave you the feeling of how tiny you are compared to the tallest living things on our planet. I was shocked on how magnificent and beautiful these towering giants are. There are several metal mesh walkways at the end of the trail, and this was constructed in 2021 to prevent damage to ferns and the spongy ground cover of fallen redwood needles that has accumulated over thousands of years turned into hard dirt because of foot traffic. The construction of this walkway ensures the little impact on the surrounding area is maintained. Overall, our first destination was very lovely to see and a nice thing to experience. After visiting Jedediah State Park, we headed to Battery Point Lighthouse. When we arrived, the weather conditions were not the best and there was a chilly feeling to the place. I was not expecting it to be this cold and I definitely was not prepared for it. As we walked towards the lighthouse, its walkway had beautiful flowers blooming. There also was a cypress tree nearby and a wooden sculpture of a whale. This is an active lighthouse that serves as private aid to navigation. Its oil lamps were first lit on December 10, 1856, and lighthouse keepers still reside there. The Battery Point Lighthouse was open to the public for tours, which include the opportunity to look into the personal quarters of keepers and their families. There were also furniture and artifacts left behind since the 1850s. When doing your tour, you also get the chance to climb into the light tower. There are displays of many maritime artifacts, photographs, and documents that chronicle its history. Another thing is that visits to the Battery Point Lighthouse and islands are only possible at low tide. Sadly, due to time constraints, we were not able to go to the tour. In its 160-year history, many keepers and their families have tended the light. Also known as the Crescent City Light Station, the lighthouse was operated by the U.S. Lighthouse Service until 1936 when the U.S. Coast Guard took over operation and maintenance. Many great stories about Battery Point Lighthouse's history and Native American legends about the island have been crafted over time, including tales of its resident ghosts. Photographs and artists have captured the beauty of the lighthouse thousands of times, making it one of the most vivid images in all of Del Norte County. The scenic beauty has made Battery Point Lighthouse the subject of film companies, of movies, television programs, commercials, and music videos. All in all, although the weather was not the greatest, this was still very interesting to see, and I wish we had gotten to go on the tour to get the full experience, but other than that, it was pretty good. After the Battery Point Lighthouse, we headed up to the Trees of Mystery in Klamath, California. During this trip, I also drove along Highway 101 to practice since I have my student driving permit. I was hesitant at first, but my dad was confident enough to let me handle the wheels and drive along this beautiful highway full of towering redwoods. There were not that many cars when we arrived at the place, so I immediately took a picture on the giant statue of Paul Bunyan and his cow, if one has to remember the folklore, located at the parking lot. The Trees of Mystery is a park and tourist attraction along U.S. Route 101. It features interpretive trails through giant redwoods and a number of unusual tree formations, many of which can be seen from its trail of mystery trees. One of the newer attractions is the aerial netted suspension bridges through these majestic old-growth redwoods with viewing platforms from 50 to 100 feet high in the trees. As you walk down the trail, you will be able to see some beautiful skies and below some extraordinary lush foliage. Making memories with family and friends is one of the special moments always remembered. One of the most appealing and exciting features of the entire Trees of Mystery experience is the nearly 1/3 mile journey through the forest treetops via the unique Skytrail gondola ride. It was only me and my dad for this ride, but it was still exciting to see the treetops under your feet as the gondola moved up on the cable. It was an 8 to 10 minute ride and a 1,570 feet trip up the mountain. Once you reached the top, you had an amazing view of the forest and also the Pacific Ocean. After our trip to the Trees of Mystery, we headed to Eureka and slept there for the night. On our third day, we passed by the famous Avenue of the Giants. This was a 31-mile scenic drive surrounded by giant redwood trees. It passed through secluded campgrounds, picnic areas, hiking trails, and access point to the Eel River, which is a federally designated wild and scenic waterway. There were several points of interest that you could have stopped by along the way. However, we just spent most of our time driving along and enjoying these majestic trees that were really beautiful to us regarding their sheer size and uniqueness. But we did stop by for a couple of photo shots. All the time we were surrounded by the amazing nature and the beauty of it. As we drove through the road, I hope that someday I will be back, as it made a long-lasting impression of this place on my mind of how beautiful it was. We headed to our next stop, which was Confusion Hill. This was a roadside attraction located at Piercy, California, which opened in 1949. It included what is dubbed as a gravity house, a structure built to give the interior visitors a tilted-induced optical illusion, which was similar to the perspective on a gravity hill. The people inside experienced the need to stand upright when they actually already are. This attraction also had similarities to the show Gravity Falls, and there are many pictures here of it. This attraction is similar to Oregon Vortex in Gold Hill, Oregon, and the Mystery Spot in Santa Cruz, California. It showcases illusions of water flowing uphill, balls rolling uphill, a person's height increase or decrease depending on where you are standing, and the appearance that you are standing several degrees off, which might seem impossible to do if you're just standing upright. My mom felt a little dizzy when we entered the Gravity House, since it was constructed to enhance the optical illusion created by the place. The place is also the location of the world's freestanding redwood totem pole chainsaw carving. This one is distinct because it was carved from a still standing dead redwood tree, rather than being carved and then erected. After checking some stuff out on the souvenir shop, we headed to our next destination. This is the Pudding Creek Trestle in Fort Bragg, California. The Pudding Creek Trestle was made during the construction of the 10-mile railroad in 1915. It was originally used to move timber for the Union Lumber Company. The bridge is 527 feet long and 44 feet high. In 2007, it was converted into a pedestrian walkway and is considered a local icon of the city of Fort Bragg. It offers magnificent views of the surrounding landscape, where many photographers make it an ideal photo shoot. It is also the perfect place to witness a dramatic sunset over the ocean. While we were taking pictures at the trestle, there was this nice man who pointed out this great tide pool near the rocks, so we went to check it out, and it was very beautiful. After taking several photos with my dad, we went towards the famous Glass Beach. This is Glass Beach. The name was taken from a time when it was abundant with sea glass created from years of dumping garbage into an area of coastline near the northern part of the town. As the years went by and through constant pounding of waves turned these pieces of garbage glass into small, smooth, multicolored pebble-like appearance. However, my high expectation of the location was not as good due to the fact that there were not so many glasses anymore, because I think people were collecting it while they were there visiting, and through the years depleted the amount. The area is large and there were several dumping sites that were used between 1906 to 1967. We did not explore most of the places, so there still might have been locations where there were plenty of sea glass. Our first stop of day 4 was the Mendocino Botanical Gardens, which was located in the town of Fort Bragg. This botanical garden consisted of many different variations of flowers and also had a lot of land compared to the other botanical gardens that we've been to. We arrived here around opening time, but there was still a good amount of people when we were there. There were very beautiful new blooming flowers, which was a plus for us to see them since they were colorful. As we explored the garden, we couldn't help but wonder how beautiful the landscaping was. There were so many different plants of different sizes and colors arranged wonderfully. We could have spent the whole day looking and adoring such beauty, and we were amazed at the amount of time it took for the planting and laying out these different plants. After exploring the trails within this garden, we went to another trail which led to the ocean side, but also had nice views. It also wasn't too chilly here in the morning, and it was pretty nice weather. When we were on the oceanside trail, there wasn't many people, but after taking pictures by the ocean, we decided to head back to go to our next destination, which was the Pygmy Discovery Trail. Our last stop was the Pygmy Forest Discovery Trail. This forest was unique because it consisted of stunted trees and shrubs caused by a complex ecological condition associated with underlying wave terraces and their unusual soils. Because of the poor soil quality and wetness of the soil, it restricted the growth of vegetation and induced a dwarf condition in many of the plants. These trees in this trail may be 100 years old or even older. They are able to survive in this soil, but they surely do not prosper here. There were Mendocino cypress there that grew only a foot or two high, compared to regular ones that grow 100 feet tall. The trail consisted of an elevated wooden boardwalk. The trees and plants here were so small compared to their normal counterparts, making you feel like a giant walking on a miniature forest. We managed to explore this place with only us and didn't even meet a single person, and this ended up our tour to Northern California, but it's not over yet. As we headed back home and rested for one day, we then prepared for our last part of our journey because we were heading for a 2-day camping trip at Hume Lake in Sequoia National Forest. Hume Lake is an 87-acre lake formed by a unique multiple arch dam constructed in 1908. Built to support a large commercial logging operation, the lake supplied water to the longest lumber flume, transporting logs to the Central Valley. Today, the lake area is a destination where visitors can enjoy fishing, non-motorized boating, hiking, mountain biking, and camping during the summer months, and snow play during the winter. We were joined by several families, and some of them were my dad's co-workers who we also normally go on these trips and camps with. Each family was assigned to cook for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which all went well. While we were here, we explored a 2.8-mile hiking trail traversing around the whole lake. It was a fun 2-day camping experience filled with karaoke and eating and playing with the other kids that I love and stick with during these trips. All those interesting and wonderful places that I've been to will forever be remembered and cherished, and we will never forget them. As we close this chapter of the Spring Intercession Road Trip, we are looking forward to where we will explore next time.